On today's Locked On NBA Game Night, it's debut day around the association. We also had top seeds clashing, playoff picture starting to clear up heading into the All-Star break. All this and more coming up on today's Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Let's get it going on the Locked On NBA Game Night show. I'm one of your hosts, Rylan Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder. You can follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Joining me as always is Gavin Shaw, your other host of Locked On Knicks. You can follow him at Locked On Knicks. And Gavin, we have a massive slate today because there's some sort of big game happening tomorrow that we want to get out of the way of. But that gives us a lot of content to talk about, including new teams with new players and all that goes into that. But Gavin, what a fun day to start things out. We're going to head to Dallas.
Whew. Mavs get away with a win against the Houston Rockets and Anthony Davis' debut for the Dallas Mavericks in one of the weirdest sports days for the Dallas Mavericks and maybe any team in the NBA. Protests going on outside before the game, during the game. A couple hundred fans were out there talking about how frustrated they were with the Dallas Mavericks. The front office yelling, "Fire Nico, sell the team," all kinds of chants going on all the time. And then inside, Anthony Davis walks out for his pregame warm-ups. Mavs fans cheer him on. He gets introduced in the starting lineup. Mavs fans cheer him in a huge cheer. He gets 14 points in the first quarter, has a moment where he gets a putback, and then starts yelling at the crowd and walks up to the crowd and says, "I'm here." He started pointing. PJ Washington going nuts behind him and has these moments. And it just made me realize and wonder, basketball can still be fun. It's going to kind of feel like Christmas when you first realize that Santa doesn't exist. Sorry if I spoiled that for you. And you can still enjoy Christmas. It's just not going to have that same kind of magic possibly. But the Mavs will be a good team. They showed that against this Rockets team. They played their version of basketball now, and that's something we're going to be learning over the next couple of weeks. Anthony Davis went out with an injury, but he said that it didn't feel like anything was significant. Felt like he just had a little twinge here and there. We'll see. But this is the new reality for Dallas Mavericks fans. The Anthony Davis injury report will be real for him. We watched that, but what we saw with this team was really great defense. Offense is going to have to come from somewhere. Max Christie was awesome in this game, too. A great contribution from the bench and all that. Mavs get a win and a debut for Anthony Davis, and a weird one.
Mavs get the win over Houston. And in one game, Gavin, they experienced the highest of highs and the lowest of lows whenever they tipped the ball off. And the way we went in this game, Anthony Davis was stellar. 26 points, 16 boards, 7 assists, 3 blocks, all in just 30 minutes. While shooting 2 for 2 from 3 and 50% from the floor. He helped the Mavericks swell a massive 21-point lead. And then the second half game, Anthony Davis got hurt. The Rockets went on a run, got it within single digits. And the Mavericks did end up, of course, pulling away and getting the win, 116-105. But you saw like how great this team could be. And then also the concerns about this team. So in the midst of this one game, how do you take it all in? You're muted.
Sorry about that. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, Rylan, the one word I would use to sum this one up is cathartic, right? Like it's been just such an emotional roller coaster. I've been something of a Mavs hater over the years, but I mean, I just like my heart hurts for their fans. After this week, I cannot imagine being in a similar situation, like getting what every fan wants, which is a generational, once-in-a-lifetime franchise type player. And then because of just a move that is, sorry, guys, despite everything that happened today, is still inexplicable to me. Like that is pure pain as a sports fan, right? Like that hurts. And Anthony Davis, like I love the quote, obviously talked about his injury, but I love the quote that he had post-game. He said, "Just trying to do my job and changing that emotion for good. I was letting Dallas fans know what they got in a player like me. It's a little friendly reminder of who Anthony Davis is." And he came out. I mean, you mentioned the stat line. It was the first Mavericks player in the history of the franchise to hit all those numbers outside of Dirk Nowitzki, which is incredible. But it basically all came in the first half. 24 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks in the first half. First player with 25, 15, and 5 in a debut since Charles Barkley with the Suns in 1992. But he was electric to start this game. Like, immediately they got Jalen Green on a switch on him, and Houston has to go help. He hits Gafford for a lob, and you just felt how big they were right off the bat, right? Like Gafford, whatever, 6'11", AD, borderline 7-footer, PJ Washington, 6'7", Clay, 6'7", Kyrie, whatever, 6'2", 6'3". Like it was just a big starting lineup, but AD emphasized that with his physicality, like getting Amen Thompson on a switch, posting him up for a fade, twice backing Tari Eason down all the way from the three-point line for little fades. That play that Nick mentioned, that was vintage Anthony Davis, the rebound and the putback dunk of his own miss. It felt like seeing 19-year-old AD at the 2012 Olympics. It felt like him during his Pelicans days. Like that was awesome. I'm not a fan. I got fired up. The pick and roll with Kyrie Irving for a jab, that was a crazy crowd pop. It was just a beautiful day for the Mavs. Like, to your point, like, late comeback. Ironically, Max Christie, the other addition, he was essential down the stretch. 21 points in this one. Hit a three with 130, or hit a big shot with 130 left to all but seal the game. Some key free throws for them. So really big win for Dallas. I come out of this really optimistic of how they can look the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's got to fire you up, and this game was always going to have overreactions tied to it because it's AD's first game. It's the first game in Dallas where you're able to voice your frustration with the trade.
Protests. Nick mentioned 1,000 people. 1,000 people, Rylan, protest.
Oh, plenty of protesting happening, rightfully so. Even with the win, even with, like you mentioned, we're both excited now for what this ceiling is for Dallas moving forward for this season, while acknowledging it's still a terrible trade for the future. And then the overreaction was when the Rockets went on that run, they were able to do so by matching size with size and posing their will with two bigs. I don't really see any concern for Dallas, or like, I'm not ready to say that's the strategy when you're playing the Mavericks, because one, PJ Washington was hurt, so like that took away size. Gafford was in foul trouble. Lively is of course hurt for a while now. So like, eventually this Mavericks team will be able to handle that kind of size. And find me the Western Conference team besides Oklahoma City with Hartenstein and Holmgren, which Holmgren's now back, like that can do that consistently enough and at a high enough level to exploit Dallas in that way. So I don't think we even know how you can properly attack this new look Dallas team. They just so happened to have a game of runs go against them with Houston, who now Houston's lost 6 in a row, Gavin, and they've slipped all the way from the number 2 seed to the number 5 seed. Is this where the slide stops, or do they still have some more tumbling to do?
Well, hadn't had more than a 2-game losing streak all year. So this is tough for Rockets fans. Obviously, injuries have played a part in it. No Fred VanVleet, no Jabari Smith Jr. for the entirety of this stretch. But you heard the comments from Ime Udoka after the Timberwolves game. He said, man, it must be nice to have a special player on your team. That is a paraphrase, not exact quote, but that is essentially what he said. And you look at these 6 games, 2 random losses to the Nets that are inexcusable. Like I don't have any explanation for those. And then 4 games where they just don't have the best player on the floor. Right, today it was Anthony Davis, and if it wasn't him, it was Kyrie Irving. And before that, it was Anthony Edwards dominating the end of the game. It was Jalen Brunson dominating the end of the game. It was Jaren Jackson Jr. getting buckets at the end of their loss to the Grizzlies. And Rylan, this was our concern when we were getting, sorry Rockets fans, all these mean comments when we said, yeah, they're awesome, they're on a great trajectory, I don't see them as a title threat. It was because like they just don't have a closer. They're 25th on the season in fourth quarter net rating. Everyone below them is a bottom feeder, bottom 5 seed in their conference. Fred VanVleet will help solve a good chunk of this, just because even if he's not a classic late game scorer, he is a strong late game orchestrator, and he can help them get the ball in the hands of Alperen Şengün, get the ball in the hands of a hot shooter. So he will make a big difference. Jabari Smith Jr. shooting and defense will make a big difference. But this is why I don't see this team as a title contender. To answer your question, though, no, I think they bounce back today and beat the Toronto Raptors. So the streak should end.
The streak should end, and I think that the tumbling will be able to end for Houston. They're too good of a defense, and they're going to be able to tap back into all those things here pretty soon. But Gavin, another crazy game featured another debut where the Warriors get a big win over the Bulls in score, 132-111. But if you really watch this game, it was crazy because the Warriors in the first quarter, they went back and forth a little bit. They grew a consistent 6-point lead. It felt like they were going to keep Chicago at an arm's distance the entire way, and then Chicago takes over at the beginning of the second quarter. They swell a 24-point Bulls lead in the middle of the third quarter, and yet they still lose by such a lopsided score and let the Warriors at one point grow a 25-point lead. So each team had an over 20-point lead tonight as the Warriors beat the Bulls in Chicago 132-111 in Jimmy Butler's debut game with the Golden State Warriors. Butler had 25 points, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, and a couple rebounds while shooting 58% from the floor. What did you like? What did you dislike from the new look Warriors?
Yeah, just a crazy first half for the Bulls where Matas Buzelis, Jalen Smith, and Kobe White combined for 42 points on 14 of 16, shooting 8 of 9 from 3. So that felt unsustainable. This number doesn't seem real. The Warriors down the stretch, they outscored the Bulls 73-28. I mean, I checked it a couple of times. Someone tell me that my math was wrong. That is absurd. And look, I think what I love the most about this, Jimmy Butler was awesome. We can talk about it in just a sec. It's very similar to what we've seen from LeBron since this Luka Doncic trade. It injected new life, I think, into Steph Curry. Even with this, I don't want to say limited because he's still very good, but even if Jimmy Butler's not the guy he was 3 years ago when he's leading the Heat to the NBA Finals, still pretty easily the best teammate that Steph Curry has had since Kevin Durant in 2019. That is 6 years where Steph has had to carry this team on his back. It was incredible that they won that title in 2022. And I think you're seeing Steph finally have the relief coming off a game where he shot 13 of 35 and the Lakers were triple teaming him of having some room. And that third quarter was just vintage Steph Curry bombing a 30-foot three to get it started. He had a play where he slung a hook pass to Moses Moody, ran a lap around the court, got it from Draymond Green, got tackled essentially and got a 4-point play. Had one where Giddey was on him, sidestep Curry, 4 feet of room, hits a 28-footer in Patrick Williams' face, offensive rebounds. He was flying around. And I thought Jimmy Butler was fantastic, right? He didn't force the issue, but his basketball IQ just shows that he can fit in with this team instantaneously. They were running that 2-man game, both on ball and off ball between him and Steph. That, of course, they ran when KD was there. They ran when Klay Thompson was there. And it worked beautifully, right? Getting Jimmy backdoor for a lob. Steph hit him on a roll for a layup at one point. Had a couple of really athletic and ones. He just looked great around the rim. Lived at the free throw line, 11 to 13 from there. Seemed like a natural fit. He's such a smart player. Draymond and Steph, of course, are basketball geniuses. It's a natural fit.
It was an awesome game in the sense of just watching the back and forth, watching the runs unfold. And coming up, we have even more great games, including a couple of clashes of top seeds around the NBA. But first, I want to say right now, my good friends over at Robinhood Gold. Folks, Robinhood Gold is there for you because now you can enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privilege of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash and non-retirement accounts. That's over 8% the national savings average. The perk of the high net worth for any net worth is now available. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on your annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Subjects may change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 per month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings amount. Interest rate claim is based upon data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. We're back on the Locked On NBA Game Nights podcast, talking to you about the night in the association as of February the 8th, 2025. Gavin Shaw, host of Locked On Knicks, with me, Rylan Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder. And Gavin, my Thunder squad went over to Memphis today on the second night of a back-to-back. And get a load of this. They played the fully healthy Memphis Grizzlies without Lou Dort, without Cason Wallace, without Chet Holmgren, without Usman Jeng and AJ Mitchell. And they were able to really handily beat the Memphis Grizzlies 125-112. Memphis did not just simply roll over in this game, of course, but there were only 2 ties, only 1 lead change. Memphis never had the lead besides the opening tip. And Oklahoma City once grew a 28-point lead, which only got cut down to around 12 throughout this contest, where the Thunder were just able to impose their will on Memphis despite their fourth quarter run. And this should have been a schedule loss. Second night of a back-to-back, all these pieces missing for Oklahoma City against the number 2 team in the West. But the Thunder get another win. They're 42-9. Gavin, what have you seen from Oklahoma City?
Dude, I got to throw this back to you, Rylan. Can you tell me, because I'm just box score watching over here. Can you tell me what's gotten into Aaron Wiggins? Had the 41 point, 17 rebound game, 26-11 tonight, and I am over here fuming, wishing my Knicks could stumble into a role player who might be more than a role player like that, because Oklahoma City, it's painful for me to say, but it's an embarrassment of riches. And it feels like, to your point, like they win with Chet, they win without Chet, they win with Hartenstein, they win without Hartenstein. Like, it just doesn't matter. That all they do is win.
All they do is win, and it's because of guys like Aaron Wiggins who's able to step up. I think that tonight specifically, it was that level of comfortability for a role player of, you're down so many guys, you know that you're going to have to play and play a lot, and he was in that starting lineup, but also comfortability in the lineups finally are making sense for Wiggins. I've asked Aaron himself twice now about the need to defend bigger positions just due to the Thunder's lack of size, and the Thunder have been trying to play him at the 4, which is a dramatic shift from where he naturally should be playing, and he openly admits he's not comfortable doing that. But you look at the lineup tonight. Well, you had Hartenstein at the 5. You had J-Dub at the 4. You finally start Alex Caruso, his first start of the season, at the 3. And now Wiggins goes from guarding 4s to a more comfortable 2, and he can then kind of exert less energy. He's not getting picked on as much defensively and offensively. He's always had that offensive game. He's always been able to score at all 3 levels because he's such a versatile offensive player. He is the 3rd best guy, if you don't include Chet Holmgren, 4th if you do include Chet Holmgren, at getting to his spots on the ball and being able to score as an on-ball player on this entire roster. And that's not even to mention he's an excellent cutter. He's able to just find the open spots in the zone, and he has efficiency whenever he's catching and shooting as well. So Wiggins was able to take advantage of Memphis. He was able to take advantage of his opportunity here, and it's been a really great season for him since the turn of the calendar year. And maybe there's hope for Bronny James after all, because Aaron was the 55th overall pick way back when. So it was a fun game for the Thunder. It was one that everyone kind of thought that they should have lost just heading into it, and then they ended up not losing it in Memphis. But Gavin,
right, well, my night was not as fun as yours. So
your night
John
was not as
great. To hear the Celtics take a victory lap over my Knicks.
A monster 40-point night for Jason Tatum in a big Celtics win. They sent the message after blowing out the Knicks, after beating the Cavs. 2 top-level performances for the Celtics. Yeah, they lose some tough games that they shouldn't lose, but these are messages that the Celtics are sending. When they want to be great, they can be great. Jason Tatum drops a 40-piece, and he kind of did it all himself. There weren't a lot of assists in this game. It was a lot of ISO. It was a lot of Tatum just challenging the Knicks, and they couldn't handle it. Add to that, Peyton Pritchard, 6 of 8 from 3. He was 25 points off the bench. Derek White, 4 of 7 from 3. 17 points for him to support what Jason Tatum was doing. Kristaps Porzingis was a late scratch. Luke Cornett was incredible. 14 points, 12 rebounds, 3 blocked shots. The centers, him and Nemish Keita, both did an incredible job protecting the paint and really making things tough. And really most impressive, the Knicks made a big run, cut it to 3 in the third, and the Celtics had a huge answer to get it past 20 after that. Poise, perfection from Jason Tatum, and the Celtics get a win and send a message to the rest of the East that when they want to be great, they really can be.
Did you get that message, Gavin? And what was your viewpoint of this game, especially after that Knicks run?
Yeah, I mean, it makes you nauseous as a Knicks fan. I've been pretty consistent in saying I'm not particularly worried about the Celtics, and this backs it up. I've also been pretty consistent in saying I'm not too worried about the Knicks, and this shakes that belief to its very core. Leon Rose, who's done a fantastic job slow building this Knicks team, decided this was the summer to go all in, right? You give up the 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. You give up 2 of your most tradable assets in Julius Randle, the Detroit Pistons pick, I guess 3, and Dante DiVincenzo to go bring Karl Anthony Towns in. And like all of a sudden, like obviously, like there are pivots the Knicks can make, but this is their team now. And you built this team presumably to beat the Boston Celtics. You played them twice. You could maybe wipe off opening night because it was opening night and Boston had a historically great shooting night from the field. But you have a 2-game sample size where you lose by a combined 60 points. You played 8 halves of basketball against far and away the 2 best teams in the league, in the Celtics and the Thunder, and maybe apologies to the Cavs, but that's my opinion on it. And you look good in one of those 8 halves of basketball, and you were utterly outclassed in those other 7. It is extremely concerning. The only mitigating factors I will say is no OG Anunoby for the Knicks. And of course, the Celtics come back and say, we didn't have Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis to try that one again, buddy. And also, I don't know if this is a mitigating factor because I don't know if it's going to change. Karl Anthony Towns, since spraining his thumb and having a bone chip in his thumb, has not been nearly the same guy. Went from the most efficient player in the NBA, the most efficient high-volume scorer in the NBA, to shooting just 30% from 3, 52% true shooting since that injury. And defensively, like when I thought he was playing a little better, I don't know why this would be related to his thumb, maybe still having a knee issue that he was having early in the year. He looks extremely creaky. And just like the Lakers did a week ago, Boston took advantage of that over and over and over again, victimizing Cat, going at Jalen Brunson, who was the one Knick to play fantastic and actually held up pretty well switching. That's why the Celtics were going one-on-one so often. But I mean, you give Boston 2 guys to target and it's food. And the Knicks are going to get OG back. They're going to get Mitchell Robinson back. There'll be reinforcements. They'll be tougher. They'll be better defensively. Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart will have better nights. This is not encouraging, though, for, again, a team that was designed to hopefully beat or at least compete with the Boston Celtics.
It was not a great night for New York, but the Orlando Magic were able to upset the San Antonio Spurs with their bunch, and we'll go over to Orlando right now for that recap.
This is Philip Rossman-Reich, the host of Locked On Magic here at the Kia Centers. The Orlando Magic defeat the San Antonio Spurs 112-111 on a turnaround fadeaway jumper by Paolo Banchero with about 25 seconds left in the game. This is a game that you have to win if you're a good team. If you're going to be a playoff team, these are the wins that help you stack wins. The kind of wins that you kind of steal throughout the course of the season that determine whether you win. And while the Magic weren't shooting hot enough to get the fire alarm off, they shot well enough to win this game. It came down to how the Magic responded. They fell down by 13 in the third quarter. They were down 6 in the fourth quarter after tying the game, after fighting their way back. And they just had to kind of fight and grind their way back into this game. Franz Wagner led the way with 33, was masterful again, kept this team in it, but it was Paolo's 9 points and that final shot that helped the Magic pull away or get the win and just do what they needed to do. They got contributions from Anthony Black, from Jonathan Isaac, from Cole Anthony throughout the roster. It's kind of win the Magic haven't had in a very, very long time. Orlando defeats the Spurs. Move on to the next one.
Orlando did get the win. They do get to move on. The Spurs, after spoiling Stephen Castle's career night, lose in Orlando. But I'm not sounding the alarms about the spunky Spurs just yet. You and I have been all over the Spurs even before the trade. Now they've made the trade, so they are officially our spunky Spurs. But also, Gavin, we did have the Indiana Pacers playing a primetime national TV game against the Lakers, though the Lakers did not have the must-see stars. The Mark Williams trade fell through. More on that in a second. Luka Doncic is out. LeBron is out. Bronny and Maxi Kleber were also out. But how did the Pacers perform? We'll take it to Tony East.
Another slow start, and this time, not when the Pacers could overcome. Tony East here with Locked On Pacers. Pacers lose to the Lakers. Let's be more clear. They lose to the Lakers without Luka Doncic and without LeBron James. And without Mark Williams. Looked like one the Pacers could get, certainly on the road. They were 3-1 in their last 4, but they hadn't really played well in any of those, and that continued into this game. They were down 22 in the first quarter. They've been down 20-plus points in the first quarter several times of late, and they could not overcome it this time. Pascal Siakam took a while to get going. Tyrese Halliburton also took a while to get going. They never looked connected as a team, throwing passes off of guys, not looking, and they could not contain Austin Reeves at all. No coverage got him away from the rim. Very poor defensive night from the Pacers, who are not playing their best basketball right now. They could really use this upcoming All-Star break. They have 2 games to go. We'll break down this loss and the upcoming signing, potentially, of Alex Len on Locked On Pacers.
Looking forward to the Alex Len breakdown on Locked On Pacers. But Gavin, the Mark Williams trade fell through. Does that change anything for how you view the Lakers?
Yeah, I think it's a disaster for them, and that's not me saying that Mark Williams would immediately become an All NBA center, but offensively he's for real. He is I think longest standing reach in the NBA, just a physically imposing monster of a basketball player. And you were going to pair him with arguably the greatest lob passer in NBA history in Luka Doncic. Like he made Derek Lively's career early in his career. He reinvigorated Daniel Gafford. I think him and Mark Williams would have been deadly. LeBron and Mark Williams as a pick and roll would be deadly. And it is brutal for the Lakers, not in the sense that it affects the Luka run necessarily, but LeBron is 40 years old, and as incredible as LeBron is, as much as he's defying everything we know about how human beings age, like you can't expect this forever. Like every year is valuable. And just like I was saying with Steph, I think the Luka trade injected new life into LeBron. The Mark Williams addition was the cherry on top of that. The Lakers undoubtedly, if they'd gotten this trade done a few days earlier than this happened, would have either still gone through with the trade and maybe just taken an asset or two out of it and kept an extra asset or two. Couldn't do that now that the deadline's passed, or pivoted and gone after someone like Nick Claxton, maybe doubled down going after Walker Kessler. And now they don't have that. So I think the news spoils a career night from Austin Reeves, where he went off for 45, 7 and 7, had some of the nastiest like transition behind the back, crossover, step back threes I've ever seen. Just a dirty game from Reeves. Impressive win for the Lakers, 11-2 in their last 13. Best record in the NBA in that stretch. 7th best offense, 2nd best defense. Everything's great in Lakers land except for this. It's a real bummer for them that they can't pivot and find a center. I think that could be their downfall this postseason.
And even though OU was in action this afternoon, Austin Reeves, the only Sooner that actually hooped today. So we will talk more about the rest of the night, including playing our favorite game, Gavin, buy or sell, coming up. But first, I want to say right now, but our good friends over at Game Time, go check out Game Time today, because if you're looking to buy tickets to the next big event, whether that's a concert or a comedy show or sporting event, you can find the right ticket at the right price and you can avoid the headaches. Go to Game Time Picks right now. It's never been easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Game Time Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. I love that curated deal feature. It makes it super simple to find great tickets at a great price. No more sifting through those tiny dots and thousands of options on a seating map. You can even grab a super deal, which gives you prime seats with a premium best value. What a steal it is, and a game changer for you. And the best part is, you're covered with Game Time's lowest price guaranteed. If you somehow find a better deal somewhere else, they'll refund you 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, create your account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase by downloading the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. We're back on Locked On NBA Game Night. Gavin, the Denver Nuggets win 122-105 over the Phoenix Suns. That's the 6th straight win for Denver. Our first buy or sell subject, Gavin, buy or sell Denver, who's a game and a half back, getting that number 2 seed.
Off topic, but I was there tonight, and Nikola Jokic is really good. That's my main takeaway, especially when he's playing Nick Richards and an elderly Mason Plumlee. Also, insane ball stretch. He had a cross court live dribble behind the back pass to Damian Lee for a wing 3. Wasn't much of a game because 3 of the Suns' top 4 scorers were out, but fun night at Footprint Center. But to answer your question, I don't just buy it. I think. Well, I guess that's the same as buy it. So I buy it, and I think it's going to happen. They're just 1.5 games back of the Memphis Grizzlies. Theoretically, Memphis should be better with their full roster now, but I don't know. I think down the road it will be, and this is a good investment for Memphis. I think as of today, turning Jake LaRavia and Marcus Smart into Gigi Jackson and Vince Williams, I think Vince Williams is the best player of those four. I don't know if that's an upgrade because LaRavia was so solid for them. Smart has not shot well, but still does a lot of the little things right. So I think they might have taken a step back in those trades. As long as Nikola Jokic is healthy, you just feel pretty confident Denver is going to keep playing like they have. Obviously, you'd feel even better about it if they had been able to pull off a trade deadline move. There's still some depth issues there. They still seem to have some injuries on and off, but you look at the teams behind them, like the Lakers, I just have a lot less confidence now that they don't have Mark Williams, don't have a solid center. I just think there's going to be some nights where they get torched defensively without any kind of rim protection behind LeBron, Luka, and Reeves. And then the Rockets losing 6 in a row have maybe not fully taken themselves out of it, but I'm not confident they're going to make a run anymore. So I'm buying that Denver gets there.
I'm with you, and it's going to make the MVP conversation very, very interesting at the end of the year. But Gavin, our second buy or sell topic actually comes from a loser tonight. The Wizards lost again, 125-111, which is actually a win in the nation's capital right now. They're 9-43, but do you buy or sell that Washington with their new front office regime is heading in the right direction?
I buy it. Alex Sarr has been playing much better over the second half of the year as the number, or the second half of the first half, I guess, as the number 2 pick. That's crucial. And then shout out to Wizards reporter Greg Finberg for these numbers. After their deadline moves, 11 first-round picks, 12 second-round picks, and 3 pick swaps through 2031. They have a lot of draft equity. I'm sure they're going to make a bunch of those picks. They can consolidate some of those picks when they're actually competitive down the road. Really like getting in some solid vets in Chris Middleton and Marcus Smart. And of course, you can always spin those guys off to contenders, maybe next trade deadline after they help this young team. But I kind of like the trajectory they're on.
Yeah, I love what they're doing. I love how they're shaping it. It reminds me a lot of what they did in Oklahoma City because they have a lot of Oklahoma City guys in that front office, including Will Dawkins. So it makes sense. But Gavin, back on the winner's circle now. Buy or sell the Minnesota Timberwolves, who pulled off a 114-98 win over Portland, who Portland has won 8 of their last 10 games, 8-2 in their last 10 games to this point. But buy or sell Minnesota, who's now clearing of the play-in tournament, and as of this moment is the 6th seed, that they're back to being considered real threats in the West.
Real threats to make the Western Conference Finals. Can totally see it. I think the West, outside of Oklahoma City, post the Doncic trade, because my hot take was Dallas still might have been my favorite with Luka, which maybe is crazy. I don't know. Doesn't matter anymore. I'm going to throw out there that they could beat anyone other than Oklahoma City, but I just don't really give them any kind of chance against Oklahoma City. I think it's a really tough matchup with all the guards that OKC has to throw at Anthony Edwards and then just advantages at almost every other spot on the court. So I think they would be in big trouble against the Thunder. I just think outside of that, or outside of Denver, maybe there's a world where Anthony Edwards is the best player in every series. They could theoretically beat any other team. Don't see them beating OKC. I think Denver would be a challenge for them again, and I think Dallas would be a tough matchup for them. But I'll buy. I'll say they're threats.
Yeah, I'll buy it. I think that they're one of the teams that you'd be scared to play in a playoff series, especially for anybody not named Oklahoma City. It's not going to be some pushover series, but we mentioned that they're the 6th seed for now because a half game back is the LA Clippers in that 7th seed, which puts them in the play-in tournament after this 130-110 win over Utah. Buy or sell, the Clippers can avoid the play-in tournament and will do so.
I am going to sell that. I second best defense. Obviously, Kawhi could still play better. I really like the Bogey addition, even though he's been having a tough season shooting the ball. I just think Dallas looked awesome today. They looked awesome 2 nights ago against the Boston Celtics. They're deep. They're physical. Bunch of defenders. I think they are going to barring Anthony Davis having a significant injury either tonight, which you said, as Nick pointed out, it wasn't, or down the road. I see Dallas getting there, and I think the current top 6 is pretty strong as well. So no, I don't think the Clippers get there.
Totally agree with you. And the last game of the day, Gavin, the Kings won 123-118 over New Orleans, even though Zion had 40 points tonight for the Pelicans. But the Kings did their job. That they outlasted the lowly Pelicans, who are 12-40. The Kings, though, are tied in the loss column with Phoenix, with Golden State, and only a couple ahead of the Spurs as they all jostle for play-in positioning. Buy or sell, the Kings make the play-in tournament.
I'm gonna buy it. I think Golden State gets in there, but I think they bump Phoenix, not Sacramento. I mentioned it before, but Kevin Durant, Grayson Allen, Bradley Beal, all last-second cuts. I think it was Mike Budenholzer being conservative just because the team played an overtime game the night before and not wanting to risk those guys. But I just think with the injury issues Phoenix has had and the fact that they've essentially been a below 500 team, not essentially, they have been a below 500 team after a 9-1 start. They are 17-25 since then. And I got to assume that's closer to who they are than a bunch of close wins early in the season. If they stay healthy, there's a chance that looks dumb. This isn't really me betting on the Kings. It's more so me betting against the Suns.
I'm going to go ahead and sell that they're going to make the play-in tournament just because I think that, one, they're the Kings, and
Sure.
two, that there's just too many different options. Like, the Suns, of course, could make it. You gave a great argument for why they might not, but the Warriors, I believe after tonight, are going to get it together and are going to make it. And then I can't give up on our spunky Spurs. I'm going to take them over the Kings. But Gavin, this was another fun edition of Locked On NBA Game Night. You can follow him on socials at Locked On Kings and check out Locked On Knicks, and check out the Locked On Knicks podcast. You can also check out Locked On Kings for sure. But Gavin is on Locked On Knicks. You can go check out Locked On Thunder to find more of me. And until next time, be good and be good to one another.